Acceptance of cloud computing and components for the communication with clients is the headline of the talk. And these are two authors. The left one is me. Also, I'm wearing today in different Eurocloud compatible tie. And the right one is Mrs. Schumacher. And authors of the contribution means this is the contribution. We have written a report last year, and it says Akzeptanzfaktoren or factors of acceptance of cloud computing. This one has been edited, written in German, edited by Austrians. It's truly international, so. And what we have this year is you could say, a complement, a supplement. And this one is a handout at the Eurocloud booth as well, so you can take it with you at home and read it and whatever you do with it. So this is the study. And this is the background project. As you can see, we are well financed, at least at 50% by the European Commission. And this is part of a, you could say, knowledge transfer activity. And I'm talking to you now on the activity we have been performing in the last years on this subject. Cloud computing is the future. Cloud computing is the future. If you literally type in this in Google a few days ago, you will get about 3.5 million hits. So if this is the future, the question could be, how could we get there? And it has to do a lot of with acceptance, and acceptance means, and this is a reference model here, acceptance means to accept actively, to adopt something, or at least to tolerate something. And acceptance means also not only on an individual basis. Very often, things like cloud computing or technical innovations are accepted by individual persons. They're saying, yes, me as an individual is absolutely able to understand and to accept, but my colleagues as a group, the whole company, has no idea about the innovative power of cloud computing. That's why it's not accepted. So active versus passive and individual versus group, this is one of the key issues of the acceptance of systems. Acceptance requires trust. Each and every cooperation requires trust. If I would not trust Eurocloud, if I would not trust Luxembourg, I would not be here. As simple as that. There are countries in the world where I would say I wouldn't go there anyway, no matter what the conference or the topic is. So, yeah, cooperation requires trust, and interestingly, people like to trust, because trust is much cheaper than being suspicious, and trust reduces complexity of the environment. So cloud computing is something that requires trust, and therefore cloud computing service providers need to think about how we could do something like building trust building measures and construct them, and consequently how could we communicate this to clients. Some 2 years ago, we have made an article where we said cloud computing is still affected with much uncertainty and the required trust is still not at hand. And this has been 2 years ago, and a bit it holds today as well. What we've done on a methodical approach is what we call case-based evidence. Case-based evidence, here's a diagram that is illustrating the approach. Case-based evidence means what you do is you are looking at a source of historical real cases. You are saying, if we are looking for the acceptance of cloud computing, we could ask what has been accepted in previous cases, what has been accepted in another historical context. And then these historical cases, we could have some isomorphic analogies, bringing them to the current problem, which is indeed the acceptance of cloud computing. And what we get then, by the evidence, by the similarity of these two, we get some conclusions. However, these conclusions are non-causal in nature. There is no strict, you could say, no strict and logical connection among the two. But we could also argue human beings are thinking in that way. They are looking at similar cases, trying to transfer and to adapt it to the actual problem. Having done so, last year we had 4 cases. The first one has been automotive. Automotive is, what is the reason why persons obviously trusting blindly in a working technology which is a car? Car drivers are not understanding the technical infrastructure of their car. Nevertheless, car drivers are driving the car. What is the reason? Second, IT outsourcing. There have been, in Germany at least, DATEV or DKIX firms performing things we would call today cloud computing for some 30 or 40 years. What is the reason why DATEV has that success? Banking. Interestingly, in banking, people are trusting the bank for no reason at all. If you're looking, if you're looking at an electronic cash card, this is a 4-digit PIN you are relying on. A 4-digit PIN is ridiculous compared with the safety and security instruments being at hand and in place in cloud computing discussion. But people obviously are trusting the bank. Why that? And we had a counterexample. This is the fuel type E10. This is the 10% ethanol mixture something, which has been a failure of acceptance. Nobody is using E10. What's the reason? E10 is working pretty well. I tell you, I'm a user of E10 for years now, and no problems, no nothing. Okay. What we find out in 2012 has been something like this. With that, obviously, we need something like potential information transparency. This has been one of the success factors in some of the banks, organized as Genossenschaftsbanks in Germany or as Sparkassen in Germany. Potential information transparency also holds for DATEV, for example. Second, clients need to learn more about the maturity of technology. Clients need to be informed. We thought about closed user groups, closed expert-oriented client groups, and we thought about public guarantees on certifications. And a certain psychological background of sympathy, rendering of liability, and seriosity has been also appeared as important. And interestingly, the effect of prices and technical details appeared to be in the background. Now, the big conclusion has been, if there's no trust, there's no business. And this year we thought about a continuation of the study of last year. And what we have got last year has been a few hints, exactly this one. And we thought about a further examination, are these aspects true? Could they be verified or not? And secondly, may there be something like a common sense of the Eurocloud Association that could be detected by a questionnaire among the experts, asking the experts. Now, our original plan has been to have a series of interviews with cloud computing clients. We thought about interviewing clients who has already successfully adopted cloud technology, others being in the process, others hesitating to do so, and so forth. This has been the plan. But the identification of qualified interview persons is sometimes very hard. For example, if you're trying to interview taxi clients, I mean these persons here, have no time. A person who is entering a taxi has no time to answer your question. A person who is driving the taxi has no time to answer your question. And a person who is leaving the taxi has no time to answer your questions. What to do? You could ask, of course, the taxi driver what he or she thinks about the general level of quality of driving taxi and how the taxi client is feeling, etc., etc. And what you can also do is you could ask taxi drivers what they think about the satisfaction level of the clients, of the colleagues, indirectly. Not your own clients, but what do you think about the clients of your colleagues? What do you think about the other ones? Not you, but the other ones. That's interesting. So this is exactly what we have done. What we get out of it, on the results of interviews, about 15 interviews with experts, has been a catalogue of 12 issues. And the 12 issues are listed here, and let me spend a few minutes on explaining them. First is potential information transparency. This has been an issue we also detected last year. It says clients would like to have at least potential access to information. So the worst thing you can do is exactly what, for example, just to name it, is Amazon doing. No way to see anything about our company, our services, our infrastructure, nothing. It's the worst thing you can do. The best thing you can do is to not to dump information as much as possible to the client, but to say you have at least a potential access to it. If you want it, we will show it to you. Second, closed user groups. Closed user groups is something that could be a success factor when it comes to, for example, public user groups. For example, if you have a user group of all universities in Bavaria, that could be very attractive to join such a user group because you're among yourself and no others are allowed to step in. Removing organizational barriers. This is exactly the point. Individuals understand cloud computing, but the organizational barrier says our board of directors has no idea about cloud computing, we have no chance to get through that. Fear of clients means to have no idea what it's all about, so here we have an education issue. References means find clients who are a reference client, and so it could be then deferred what the actual client could do. Building reputed labels has been addressed in the panel discussion as well, trying to go at a marketplace, something like come in the market jointly with a well-reputed level like the telecoms and IBMs and whatever. General seriosity means do exactly what bankers are doing. Appear serious. Appear reliable. Prices, be cheap. Look for savings at the client side. Clear? Talking to clients means go to fairs, disseminate information as much as possible. This is traditional marketing somehow. Assurance of technical feasibility means could you assure that the cloud computing system will run well, and run well all the time. Transfer of liability is what happens if something happens. Is there any reassurance? And security, that's clear, that's the well-known discussion of data center location, security of data, and so forth. This undergone a questionnaire, and the questionnaire said, well, these 12, not important, not that much important, pretty much important, very important. And we said, what is the potential? So if the providers of cloud computing services would provide a potential information transparency, what would be the effect in the market? What is the factor of clients? What is the effect? What is the factor of market growth you would achieve if you are able to do that? At the end of the day, we had the table like this. This is the result of some 60 persons in the Eurocloud organizations who had answered the questions. And what you can see, this is the number of the issues over here. This is the important thing, and this is the market potential. Of course, I was assuming that you have learned the 12 issues by heart in the 2 minutes, but you didn't, no. That's why we have brought here a summary of the thing. First, this is a few keywords. This is a few keywords of things cloud computing service providers may undertake. That is, for example, something like building trust by user groups. This is investing in liability and seriosity. This is use precise language and go for certifications and so forth. And we had a second summarizing the results. This is this one. This is again the 12 issues. And what it shows, and this is very simple, but I hope it is illustrative, it is red, less red, not red, important to unimportant. And what it turned out, so this is a qualitative sum of the results. What it turned out is that, number one, potential information transparency, overcoming fear of clients by educating them, providing references of clients, and the general serious approach is as much important as the security and the data center location issue. What we found in the second row is the organizational barriers and the assurance of technical feasibility. What we found not that important is the reputed labels thing and the prices thing. And what we found very unimportant, interesting, has been the marketing, the spreading information thing. To be a little bit more abstract, just before lunch, this is my last chart, I promise, that one. To be a little bit more abstract, just before lunch, we would have 4 points. First point is, find the client in his position, perspective, language, etc. The clients are buying for their reasons, not for yours. And this is one of the key issues. What we find very often is cloud service providers are talking to clients not in the client's language, but in their language. And the first thing they're doing is invent new vocabulary, rename, rephrase everything to put as much as suspiciously as possible on the client side. Reputation building. Clear, serious language. Be well ordered. Be absolutely a clean-cut kit. No chaos. Okay. Marketing not only on a technical, but also on a socio-economical as well as an emotional level. Building sympathy. Not sympathy for the devil, but sympathy for the cloud. Okay. And and building sympathy, being friendly. Business with a smile. Could you remember a car called Renault Twingo? It smiled. Fiat Panda, it smiled. That's the reason. And as simple as that. And at the end, there's something like building reputation using well-established business marketplaces. I think that the discussion we had about 1 hour ago, it goes exactly in the right direction. This is using well-reputed, well-established labels, well-established marketplaces to simply be, in a consequence, in the same market and the same reputed position. Very last slide is this one. Thank Eurocloud Deutschland Echo. Andreas Weiss, Bernd Becker, these two having been a truly sponsor and supporter of the work we have done in these last 2 years. We're trying to continue that. Should we do? Yeah. So, in case of any questions, do not hesitate to contact me or ask me questions or whatever. You could also write me an email. Look at this. Email. You could write me an email or Mrs. Schumacher write an email. No, it's as you want. Questions? Or lunch or something? Whatever you want. Yeah. Thank you. You're heading for lunch, I know that. Yeah.
Communication guide. We're preparing now a communication guide for cloud service providers to address the key areas which are of interest for the clients and to find a common language and a common approach to convince for the utilization of cloud computing, and just to provide a checklist for the sales resources how to communicate to the clients. This might be helpful, and we will disseminate this in the next few months. Okay, thank you very much, and enjoy your lunch.